from the men's lacrosse team, formerly of RIT, still from Canada. Michael Grace is joining us right now, new starting defender from the Orange lacrosse team. Michael, thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
Thanks for having me on here.
All right, so you have appeared from RIT here in this offseason in the starting lineup here in this last game, one of the starting close defenders for the team. Tell us about this journey here. You're playing D3, high-level D3 at RIT. What was the process like going from there to Syracuse for you this year?
Yeah, so I put my name in the portal last fall around November time, and then took a few visits, came to Syracuse and fell in love pretty quickly, and then decided I was going to come here, and got here in August, and the transition was pretty quick. The guys accepted me really quickly, and then getting used to the style of play, the fast quickness of the play, it didn't take too long either, especially having the guys around me and the coaches that I have around me. So it was a pretty quick transition. It was pretty easy.
Yeah, say you were at RIT, and people might say, "Okay, what's the deal with that?" Well, you won 2 national championships there at the D3 level. That's the deal with being that. Tell us what the level of lacrosse is there compared to what you think you're gonna get into this year. What is the gap you have to transcend from like high level D3 to what you're going to be dealing with the Syracuse, ACC, and all the stuff this year?
Right. I don't think the gap is as big as some people think. There's a lot of really good players in Division III, but then you get to this level, everybody's really good. So you just got to get used to everybody's being a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. So there is a little bit of a transition, but don't knock those D3 teams. There's a lot of really good D3 teams out there too.
Yeah, and hey, we saw it last year with Mason Cohen making the jump here from Tufts and immediately having a great season. So this is not unusual territory for the Orange recently. So you get here, you get yourself in the mix, and you've earned yourself a starting spot with the team. You mentioned the guys made it easy for you. How long did it take for you to find your sea legs here with Syracuse, or was it pretty immediate for you?
I felt like I found them pretty quickly. In the fall, I was practicing, still coming back from my knee injury, so I was a little behind, but now I'm no knee brace anymore, fully back from my knee, so I feel really good, and the transition's pretty quick. It definitely helped with Coach O, one of the best T coaches in the country, so he gives me all the confidence that I need and everything that I need to do to be successful, and then playing with the really good players around me, like guys like Billy Dwan, Riley Figueres, like they make the game easy, so it's easy to play with those guys, so the transition wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it's a good group. Like, speaking of transition, Billy Dwan's not afraid of that. Like, he'll take the ball and take off at any time. What's it like playing next to a guy like that's not afraid to go from end to end?
I love it because I feel like that's part of my game too. So it's fun having 2 pretty tall, long poles on the offensive side of the field. We can do some creative stuff. So just watching some of the things that he's able to do and the creativity that he has, add some of those things to my game, and then it's really fun watching him.
Yeah, I mean, you got room to roam when you were at RIT. You had 20 goals in your career. How much liberty did you have in that when you were at your previous stop?
RIT let me loose, let me off the chain. So they let me do a lot of stuff on my own. They had some set plays for me too, so they really let me go. And then here too, Coach O likes us pushing transition too. So I wouldn't say I have the leash that I had at RIT, but I definitely am able to do some of the things that I was the previous years.
Yeah, you mentioned Coach O. That's John O'Dearna, your defensive coordinator on this team. Everybody I've talked to now, he's been here a year and a half, give or take. This is his second season here, speaks glowingly of this guy. What does he do for you guys that puts you in position so well?
He just makes us feel comfortable. He makes us feel like we're all together, we're part of the team, and it feels like he's one of the guys. Like, you can talk to him outside of practice, and just like one of the boys, he's one of those guys you can get really close with him. He'll text you like later after practice, just give you a call, ring, whatever. He feels like he's one of the guys too. So it creates like a really family-like defense. So we're all really close, and the chemistry is really good. So he just creates that environment where everybody feels really close, tight-knit group.
And speaking of the ideas, we got Michael Grace here, transfer in from RIT for his year here in the Cuse on the number 2 ranked Syracuse lacrosse team that blew out Jacksonville in the opener over the weekend, getting ready for Vermont on Friday, and a quick turnaround for Towson coming up Monday, all these games in the Dome. You speak of, defenders getting to roam, Billy Dwan doing what he did last year, you getting a chance to go in transition. Your head coach, Gary Gates, in favor of all of that, right? He's in favor of creativity from anybody, anywhere, at any time. How much freedom does that feel like playing for a guy like Gary?
Yeah, it's awesome playing for him, especially seeing some of the things that he did when he played. So he loves the creativity. He loves when we do something cool on the field, make a cool play. So having him being able to back us when we make a cool play or we do something a little unorthodox it's nice to have him backing us for it.
All right, give us a little breakdown of the goalie situation. Jimmy McCool got the start in the opener. We saw a little bit of Michael Ippoliti down the stretch in the fourth quarter. We know that was a big-time battle, right? How'd that play out for you guys, and how much confidence do you feel in both of them?
Yeah, those two are some of the best goalies in the country, and it's such a tight race. And either one of them could be in there, and we'd have the most confidence in the world in both of them. But we went with Jimmy, and Jimmy played great. And then Mike stepped in there, too. He played great as well. It's just nice to have two guys that we can rely on back there in case one goes down. Hopefully not. But having two guys just makes it so much more confident.
I'll know this. You guys want the goalie to stop the ball. That goes without saying. Communication, though, in many ways feels like even more vital, right, for you guys. What is the communication level right now between you guys on defense and the goalies behind you?
Yeah, both of those goalies are really loud, and it helps us a lot when they're loud too, because they see the whole field when we may not see the field. So having them both be super loud, telling us where guys are, really helps out the defense and helps us talk through where the slide's going to come from, anything. When the shot clock's low, they're both on top of their game in the communication.
All right, tell us a little bit, Mike, here about the Canadian connection on this team. You played, growing up a little bit with Sam English, Finn Thompson, Owen Helt, some of these other guys. There's a lot of guys. Obviously, your head coach is from Canada. What is that doing to this team? Like, everyone knows the box lacrosse game. What does that infuse to this year's team?
I think the Canadian style brings a little bit more creativity, like you said, Coach Gate earlier. He's loves the creativity, and I feel like that box style brings a lot more creativity to the game with the behind the back passes, the cool flips, the little slips and the picks and everything. The crazy plays that you see, a lot of that comes from the Canadian game. So having that Canadian influence on the game makes the goals a little prettier, I think.
No, I think for some American fans that might not understand the box game, like that's all short stick. So you're playing long pole in the college game. How does that transition, and how does that help your ability to do all that cool stuff when you have the long pole in your game when you're playing outside?
Yeah, I feel like being a taller guy with a longer reach too, it feels like the long pole fits better in my hands than a short stick. So I feel like the stick fits me a little bit better, but. Playing with a short stick and box helps my hands get a little bit better, and then having the extra length with the pole allows me to do some other tricks that I wouldn't be able to do with a short stick. So that extra length really helps me out a lot, especially with my long reach. The pole just fits better in my hands.
Yeah, for those that are watching with us on Q Sports Talk, we can see you, but you're sitting down, so we can't quite tell that you're 6'5". Yeah. He's 6'5" right now, so that's a big guy. Billy Dwan's a big guy as well. That kind of seems to be where Lax is going right now. I know Virginia's been recruiting like gigantic humans for years on defense. How important is the size aspect of defense these days in field lacrosse?
The size definitely helps. I feel like there's a lot of big guys out there, so we need some big guys on matchups. But also, you don't need to be huge to play at this level. Like you see Riley Figueres, he's not as tall as me and Billy, but he's one of has some of the best footwork I've ever seen, so he's able to cover those quick, shifty attackmen. So it's nice to have somebody like around his size and then guys around me and Billy's size so that we can match up perfectly against other teams.
All right, we had Finn on last week, and I asked him this, like, who is your toughest cover in practice, or who is the toughest guy to go against in practice? And he said Riley was his answer. So for you in practice, who is the toughest Syracuse offensive guy that you go against?
They're all pretty hard to cover, but I think somebody that a lot of us have trouble covering in practice is Owen Helps. He's so deceptive. He might not be the fastest guy off the step, but his stick skills and his IQ for the game, his deception is so high level. It just makes it hard to cover him on ball and off ball. So yeah, I think he's the hardest guy to cover on our team.
Yeah, I think usually when you ask guys like a question like that, you think about, one-on-one locking a guy down, him dodging past you. When you guys are guarding the Syracuse offense, like when they're in a groove and the ball's humming out there, how tricky is that in practice? Because when they get it cooking, like that's got to be really impossible for a defense.
It is tough. There's probably, if not the best offense in the country. So it definitely helps us get better going against them every day, because we go against them and then we get into a game and the offense isn't nearly as good as our offense. So we're ready to go against them. But it definitely makes us keep our head in a swivel, how fast they're moving the ball. They're all so good. Cutting off ball, moving, dodging, everything. They're so good at it. So it really gets us ready for when we have to play against other teams.
Michael Gray, senior starting defenseman for the Orange Lacrosse team, just transferred in this year from RIT, multiple-time national champion over there. All right, one thing from your bio I need to ask you here, Michael. It says here you enjoy watching Star Wars. Do you enjoy it, or are we talking like full-blown Star Wars nerd here? Where are you on the Star Wars spectrum?
I wouldn't put myself at the full-blown Star Wars nerd, but it was a big part of my house's fall. And my house, I live with Sam English, Finn Thompson, Joey Spallina, Jimmy McCool, and Michael Leo. And early on in the fall, we did a lot of movie nights, and the first series of movies that we watched was the Star Wars movies. And we got really into them. And I watched them a lot of times before when I was younger, but this fall we took it to another level, really got into it. We ended up making them our Halloween costume too. So we all went as Star Wars characters, which was pretty funny. But I wouldn't call myself a full-blown Star Wars nerd, but I'd say I'm into it more than the next guy, for sure.
Oh, okay, there are important follow-ups here. So who were you for Halloween?
I was Darth Vader. Sam was Han Solo. Joey was Luke Skywalker. Jimmy was Chewbacca. Michael Leo was Yoda. And Finn was... who was Finn? I'm blanking on who Finn was, but we all went in depth into those characters. We spent a lot of time in those costumes. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, so you hit all the major guys. No Jar Jar Binks. Nobody going that route for the Halloween.
I was close to being Jar Jar Binks, but it was hard to find a costume. A little bit easier to find Darth Vader.
Yeah, they haven't made any new Jar Jar going on 20 years now. All right, were you guys watching like the originals, like the 70s films, or were you watching literally then to the series now? You like all in on this?
We watched the original 6, so the ones from the 70s and then the early 2000s ones.
Okay, there we go. All right, I think we're all up to date on that now. Last thing for you, Michael. Busy week here, right? Game Friday, Vermont. Big game coming up Monday against Towson, who you guys beat in the playoffs last year. They beat before you were here in the playoffs last year. How do you handle this situation where it's early season, tight turnaround with these two games coming up?
Yeah, early season, these games, it's hard to prepare for 2 games in a weekend, but Coach O's doing a great job of getting us ready for Vermont right now, and then we'll get right into Towson the next day. He's preparing us really well, and these early games really rely on the way that we play, because you can't really get a good scout when these teams haven't had games yet. So it's a lot of going to rely on the way that we play, and we have to come out and we have to respect these opponents and then just come out and play our game, and that's really what it's going to rely on.
Well, your game for the whole team looked about as good as it could be in the first game out against Jacksonville last Saturday. Hopefully that continues going forward. Michael, thanks so much for hopping on for a few today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, there he is. He is Michael Grace, transferred in from RIT. Yeah, he's got rings.